Zdeněk.
Ahoj, Jarda.
And ahoy, Jamie.
Ahoy.
Ooh, we have very special guests. We have like podcast for 4 years, and since day one, I had a dream. I had the dream that you will be sitting in this chair.
It sounded like Martin Luther King. I had a dream.
Yeah, but it's let's go to the places I want to be, because this is my dream come true. Jamie Jongkind is a very special guest for us because you are coming from our coffee sourcing company, the company who provides us beautiful coffee that we are always happy to share with our customers and with our coffee friends. But Jamie Jongkind is a person who did in a coffee world so much that not just like buying and selling the coffee, but you started your barista career, and after a few years you started a coffee company who was called the best coffee concept in Netherlands. You started a small roastery, you started the company and the cafe to rebuild old swimming pool. Oh my God, that was so like futuristic, because now everyone is wanting to have some kind of these concepts, and you was always on the right place.
Right.
So after it, 2017, you connected with Nordic Approach. You become the green coffee buyer, and from 2017 when we started our company, we are connected. And sometimes when our customers ask if you are going, like us, if we are going to the origin countries, we say, no, we have Jamie, our friend, and maybe our like missing hand there, who is always thinking about our coffee too when he have his origin trip. So welcome. It's I think it maybe sounds cheesy, but it's an honor for me and to say, hey, people, this is Jamie.
Well, thank you. That's way too much honor for me, but thanks for the introduction. Wow. I have to say, first of all, I didn't do it all alone, right? Like the restaurant and stuff. I like you said, you were at the right place, but also at the right time. Like the then business partner I had, she was very experienced with hospitality, and I was a rookie. I was young. I was like 20, and I didn't have any experience. So setting up like a restaurant, I definitely couldn't have done by myself. So yes, but we did that in an old swimming pool. So she already had like a breakfast shop and a lunch shop, and it was a cool time, especially like for coffee, especially. And I mean, it's still an amazing time. It's only gotten better. But back then, you know, I was a barista, and I was working at a company called Coffee Company. They're very original, but no, they're amazing. They're they're one of the first in the Netherlands that took coffee to a new level. And I mean, it's kind of, you know, all like it's usually a joke. Like almost every single barista came from that pool. You know, like they had such a good training at their headquarters in Amsterdam, and I got a chance to do a lot of good things there. So and I was still young. You know, I misbehaved, and I was able to grow into an adult there. So I was honored to have that chance with them. And then I got to know coffee, and afterwards, my business partner already had that lunch shop, but she was already doing that on such a high, like the food was on such a high quality. But this was, I think, maybe like, it must have been 14 years ago. I mean, I'm only 33, but more than half of my life has been coffee, so that's pretty cool. But she was doing this lunch shop, and she was one of the first that, at least in Rotterdam, where it was on another level. They did a lot of like, you know, in the Netherlands, I'm not sure how it was here in Prague back then, but it was like this prefabricated sandwiches that were made the day before and whatever, and nobody wanted to pay for food basically. And she really did that next level in the breakfast and lunch shop, and then eventually she so they got queues and stuff, which was unheard of. Even in Amsterdam was kind of like at that time was weird. Like, and then she wanted to level up her coffee game, and she heard about me, and I came by, and some people tipped me, and it worked out, and I started doing the coffee program there, teaching everyone, and with the local roaster. Started asking him to buy specific coffees for us and all these things, and so I wanted a little bit more from what the average wanted, and we got our own like AA Kenya. You know, it was super cool. And then I was there for like 2 years or something, and then we started this restaurant and coffee roastery together, and that was like, you know. Like I was 21 or something, and it was a dream come true. We were already looking for a coffee roastery, and it was actually kind of funny because I started. Yeah, the first time I started roasting was crazy. Like there was this guy Henk, he was an amazing guy. It's like a legend in the Dutch coffee market, and he has like the what do you call it, monopoly or like the rights to sell the Lamazocos and all these things. In the Netherlands, amazing guy, and he opened this.
They got the museum of the machines too,
yes,
right?
Yeah,
that's proper legend.
That's his private
collection. It's amazing. Yeah,
but his private collection actually used to be in a sort of like in a small hall, and that's where he started. Because he wanted to do like the Giesens, roasters, the roasting machines. They didn't really sell so much in the Netherlands, which is weird because they're Dutch. So Henk wanted to do that in the Netherlands, and then but also did sort of like a pilot program to learn people how to roast. And me and Lex were the first ones to do that. So from Fried Hats, and so we were learning how to roast there. So I went from Rotterdam to The Hague into the tram for a while because we had a shitty car. We didn't have any money for it and whatever. So we didn't really have a car to drive back and forth. So I was carrying buckets in the tram and subway from The Hague to Rotterdam. That was that's how I started roasting.
Cool.
Like these big ass buckets, you know, like 3 of them, like 30 kilos carrying. It was crazy, but it was fun. And it was so worth it, you know. In the end, it was like, you know, with that first moment when our little shop, that was still the first shop. It was called Picnic, and that first time when you have we were famous for food, and people were standing in queue in line and whatever. They loved the food, and the food was really good. And then, but the coffee was still like nobody really walked, like nobody really did nobody came to Rotterdam for coffee, and nobody in Rotterdam really went out of their way, walked a block to get good coffee, you know. That wasn't a thing. And then the first times that happened, and someone was there, like came to the bar, you know, it was like and then immediately we all were like like a table will take you like 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. So you have to wait a little bit or whatever. And she was like, no, I just want a coffee. And I was like, what? You just want a coffee? Amazing, you know?
Game changer.
Yeah, that was like, wow, I still remember that. It was like, I still remember her. You know, it was super cool. It was like a woman, like in her like 40s and something. And yeah, that first moment where you like, someone came specifically for coffee, and I was like, oh, we're onto something, you know, this is cool. And then, so fast forward, like, I don't know, 1, 2 years or something. Sometimes it's a blur because so much happened. We were offered this place in a sort of like a famous building in Rotterdam. It was a little vague. And we're like, okay, cool, we'll check it out, because they wanted us, because Picnic was built in like an old garage. And we did like my business partner, she completely renovated that everything, and she did a really good job. And they kind of wanted some people that could do the same thing with like a other building, and we went to this other building, and it turned out to be this massive swimming pool. And in the 80s it was built, and it was amazing. It used to be called Tropicana. And it's everything you imagine a tropical swimming paradise is. It's like the whole building, I think it's 7,500 square meters. And then in the beginning it was like what do you call it? Like a shit show, you know? There was like the whole building was broken in a lot of times because people were stealing the copper in the tubes and stuff and all these things.
Cables. Yeah.
And then we kind of switched that image, like build a restaurant in it and a roastery. But me, first time coming there, I was like super young, and I was like, whoa, we can build a roastery like overlooking like a swimming pool. Like, my mind exploded. So that was amazing. And then, we started growing our own vegetables, and or at least a little bit. It was but the whole space was massive, like 1,200 square meters, like half outside on a terrace overlooking, like best view in Rotterdam, overlooking like even when it was misty, it was beautiful, like this mysterious, like the main river going to Rotterdam, and you saw all the bridges, and it was a cool place.
Is it still existing?
No, she just sold it actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's actually cool because the whole building now, like we only own 1,200 square meters, but slowly after us, like there was like a mushroom grower that grew. Actually, the whole thing was we wanted to create sort of like Like the hub wasn't our idea. We just wanted to make a beautiful restaurant, but the whole idea was to make it sort of like circular, right? To look at all your supply chains inside your restaurant, and to kind of close the loop, to have no waste and all these things, as much as was possible at that moment. And one of the things was like all our coffee waste went to like the mushroom growers, and they grew like these beautiful. What do you call it? The oyster mushrooms. It's amazing, and it tasted amazing. And then we started using those in some of our dishes, and that was really nice. And then, it was there until like 1-2 years ago or something. So I left maybe 7 years ago or something. And this was because, I mean, in my mind, I had a lot of ideas like for coffee. Like I wanted to, because in Europe there wasn't really, and I still don't think there's a really good coffee chain that is cross country, like a really good one. So I had a bunch of ideas to create like local partnerships with like a local baker and have a coffee shop with them, and then do a bunch of those things, and then throughout the Benelux, all of the Netherlands, and but I mean, I was only 24 at the time, and I was like, okay, I need to, if I want to do this, I wanted to open like 10, 20, 30 shops, but always hold the quality, because I still believe that I see it too little, but where you have a company that has like 20 shops and still is like nailing all of the roasts and nailing all of the espressos, and just holding that quality, and it's like, what you usually see is they go for the money or whatever, and but there's ways to do this. I believe you can kind of.
That's the real cup of the carpenter. As they say in Indiana Jones. Like that's the key to be really successful in a coffee shop business, I think. To have many locations, it's not that impossible. But keep the quality, consistency, and stuff. People. I think it's really, really hard. And there is probably one chain. No, there is no chain like this, I think. Like there is no such a thing like Toby Estate or like Stumptown in Europe, I think. You know some?
I don't think so.
No.
Still like,
this is what I'm I thought, and I that's why I wanted to do that at that time. But I think it's still not here. No. But it makes sense, because it's like it's so difficult. Like imagine the Czech culture, and you just only have to open a coffee shop in the Netherlands or something. It's so different, and language, and it's like. But all of them are like kind of getting more multicultural now, and everyone's speaking English. So I don't know, it should be possible.
But Europe is such a small place. And every part is completely different.
Yes. That's what makes it so difficult. That's why...
Like the Slavic and Germans, they're like basically next to each other, but a completely different thing. I am not able to open probably the coffee shop in Germany and be successful. Because we are Slavic, little punk.
And
they are too strict. And they are too strict. Different.
But it is difficult. That's why, I mean, Starbucks also had a big problem, right?
Yeah.
When they first tried to go into Europe, it's completely failed. They had to close down a lot of shops and stuff, and they're pretty successful now. But that was problematic in the beginning. But and then so I kind of had a choice to make. I was like, okay, am I gonna dedicate another 10 years of this? And I was more like, okay, I kind of want to move on and become, because you're like, if you're in a restaurant or in a roastery, you're kind of always like sending information, right? Like helping people and educating, and I don't know, I was kind of like, I want to back to full on education, you know, I just want to be a student again. And then I was like, okay, well, what am I? The reason why I wanted more shops is because I could then have more grasp on the supply chain. Yeah, so to buy your own coffee, you need kind of a little bit of volume, right? To do if you want to go travel and build direct relationships and all these things. It's easier. It's a little bit easier now, but back then, you just needed more volume. That was kind of the idea. So I was like, okay, well, why not just do that first as a sort of like a standalone thing? And then I got to know Nordic Approach. And I just wanted to leave the Netherlands for a while, just like have a change of direction and location. And I don't know, I got to know Morten, like the founder of Nordic, and we had a Skype, and he was basically like, "Can you start next month?" And I was like, "Okay, I have to like kind of settle things down and finish the roastery and make sure that they hand over and all these things." And and then I moved to Oslo. Basically, I'd never been there, and suddenly it was like I moved on at the worst date ever, 1st of February. Don't go to Oslo, because it's like because if you like go to in November, December, it's like if it's snowy, it's beautiful, right? But in February, it's like grim. It's dark. Like all the snow has turned into gray mush. You know, it looks really bad. So anyway, that's when I moved, and then I was like, I love you should definitely come visit more, because Oslo is amazing, and Norway is like, wow, it's beautiful. Anyway, that's where I live now. Now I work for Nordic Approach. So long story.
You was there like in a lab, or you starting to go to the origins from day one? Like
no, it's more like. I wanted to do the lab a little bit, but they needed there were only like maybe 4 people at that time. So it was more like I started more sales. Actually, it was always the goal to go do more buying and all these things, and more sustainability or sourcing and all these things. But I'm kind of happy that I am in that position, because now I'm. You know, I used to be a barista, and then I came to a roaster, then sales and buying, and so it's like I didn't have sort of my feet in all of the little segments of the coffee world. So that's super cool.
And it helps you with the sales and with all the stuff that you know how to roast coffee, that you know how to brew coffee, and so on. It is a great thing for you, I think.
Yeah, I think I love it, because I'm also, I mean, I've been out of roasting for a while, so I don't know all the latest techniques.
No, it's like it's like a riding on a bike. So just drop in, it just makes sounds, and then you drop out.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
And you cup a lot.
You cup a lot.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe we're like stepping on some toes now. We don't know. No, but it's kind of true. But I love roasting. It was like this sort of meditative space that I miss it sometimes. Like if you're like in a hectic and you have to do a lot, and you're like, sometimes a day of roasting would be just like, you know, I used to do that in a restaurant, and then you working in a restaurant all day, like hectic, and like hundreds or thousands of people a day, and then you just go back to roasting, you know. And you're like, and the staff also knew, like, they shouldn't talk to me when I'm roasting, you know, like just like
and
focus.
They need to wait until you've done it, and they can pack it.
So that was cool. But then now Nordic, that's it's been a really like cool ride. Like I didn't have any knowledge about sourcing, right? I was a roaster, and that's it, and cupping a lot, and I was like intrinsically motivated to do this, and reading a lot of books, and trying to meet people that knew more than me, and trying to stay humble, so people want to teach you, and then now I'm like at Nordic sales, buying. So it's like the ideal role you can be in, basically. So nice, because I get to know you guys more, get to travel here, and so I've been all over Africa now for Nordic, and Central America, and it's just like the people you meet there. It's also. It's incredible. Like it's such a cliche, you know, but you only start to get to know yourself and the world and coffee when you start to travel to all these places. Not to romanticize it, you know, because it's not like it shouldn't be like a tourist trip or whatever. But you just get to know the people, and you start to realize that it doesn't matter whether someone is white, black, yellow, or whatever. It's just. Everyone has the same struggles. Everyone has the same wishes, and it all comes down to they want the best for themselves and for their loved ones, and make sure that they spread love to their family and all these things. So it's cool, and we want the same. So it's super nice. Yeah, and then as Nordic, it's like, you know, for me, I can't be at a better place, you know, because it's like the quality is super good, and luckily that also often goes hand in hand with like paying the producer a proper price and all these things, and we can ask a little bit more. Like, you guys want to pay for good coffee, and good that people are what do you call it? Treated well, not only by the owner of the washing station or whatever. You know, it's like that the soil is managed well and all these things. So. Yeah,
it's completely different. But as you said, like, stop romanticizing it's very important. I think nothing like gives you the pink glasses from your nose when you come to Origin trip, and when Zdeněk was with you guys in a Peru, he was with Morten.
With Morten and Guy from
It was so fun when he came back, and he said like, oh yeah. So you start your day at 5 a.m. coming 2 hours to the farm, cupping 200 bowls, going 2 hours to the different farm, cupping another 100 bowls. It's not a Kansas. It's not
holiday. It's like a proper field trip, and I really like it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to experience that. Because
do you still can have decent cup, or you are drinking anything else but a coffee when you have like the rest day, or
when I'm
it's like
in my days off, you mean?
Yeah,
or,
because it's
like generally
hundreds and hundreds. It's not like us. We do product cupping, which is like few batches at a day. Maybe sometimes we cup your samples which you send us, but this is a madness, man.
Well, actually, it's funny because I mean, this is completely off topic, but I started doing like more, what do you call it? Like they call it mindfulness, you know, meditation, yoga, and working out and stuff. And you start to learn, you start to like see your body differently. You feel it. You're more in touch with it or something. Sounds a little hocus pocus, but and then you also, at least I notice, what caffeine does. I don't know if this is a good commercial, you know, but to me at least,
we are the drug sellers.
It's a drug, you know. It's like we're drug dealers. Yeah. There's no way around it. And I feel like if I take coffee, like coffee is also a medicine, or like a sort of like you can use it for a purpose, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's like I wanted to go back to using, I don't know, like coffee more in a holistic manner. Like, okay, I will very sort of like intently choose to drink coffee. You know, okay, now I want to perform or whatever, do something for a few hours, and then I take coffee. So actually, I don't drink so much coffee unless I cup. You know, there's a lot of coffee, but you spit it out. You still consume a lot of coffee, of course. So I feel wired after cuppings. Yeah. But on my days off, I drink. So first of all, if I'm in the office, I teach myself now to everything, because I want to taste all of the batches that come by, all the batch brews. You know, you have like this beautiful coffee, blah blah blah. Someone brewed, or like the roasters like yourself, they send us like gifts and like a bunch of different coffees, and we brew everything, and we love that stuff, you know. And I want to taste it all, so I teach myself to just like have literally like 1 or 2 sips in a glass, and that's it. Because if you're like, because also not over romanticizing the work of an importer, like 90%, 95% of our work is behind sheets, emails, calls. You know, that's the main job, which needs to be done. And but then if you have your cup of coffee, and it's just, you know, if it doesn't matter how many times you fill it a day, it's going to be empty many times a day, right? Yeah. And I just noticed, like, it for me anyway, it's like it had a toll on my body. Like, I feel it in my shoulders and my neck, like a sort of tenseness. And so I started kind of minimizing it. And I have maybe like 1 cup of coffee a day. That's it.
I think it's natural progress for like most of the coffee professionals. Yeah. So you start, you drink a lot, and then you go just like tasting the coffee instead of drinking. So you taste 1 sip, and that's all. So if somebody asks me if I'm drinking a lot of coffee, I say no, I'm tasting a lot of coffee. It's a completely different thing. So I'm not drinking like 6 cups a day. I drink like 2. 1 drink the morning cupping, the production cupping from the last day, and in the afternoon I take 1 espresso somewhere, maybe not at all. Just like, and I'm not like the person that needs coffee to wake up. I'm drinking coffee because I like it, not because I want or need to, or the desire to.
Yeah, this is a good point actually, because you know, if life gets maybe not tough, but like busy, you tend to sort of like you know, you sleep badly or whatever. You tend to sort of chip away, and before you know it, you're addicted, hooked, you know, and then you need that morning coffee to wake up, because and for me, it's like honoring the coffee and the product and like the craftsmanship more. If you can just like, you're not a junkie. You're just like in the morning or in the like, usually I take my first cup like at 10 a.m., 10:30. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna drink coffee now because I really want the coffee, you know, and not like, I'm like, shit, I just woke up and I need it and I need energy or whatever. So yeah, no, that's a good point. I completely agree with that. You just want, for me, it's honoring the coffee more, I guess. Just like you have your 1 or 2 cups, small cups of coffee a day, and you make it worth, because I'm kind of ruined with all sort of things. Like with the restaurant also, we had super good wines, you know, and like the guy doing the wine was like, he's an amazing guy and always had the best wines and introduced me to natural wines for the first time. And so that's ruined for me, and you only need like the good stuff. And then even with tea, you know, we had like really good sourced tea and stuff, and from a local company, and now coffee also, you know. So it's like if I'm anywhere, I just like I would rather not drink coffee or tea or wine it sounds snobistic, but I'm also just like, no, I don't need it. Just like I would, like if it's like a beautiful product and like well sourced and it comes from a good place and it comes from a craftsman or a craftswoman, I can just like, I'll take it, you know, and I will enjoy everything. Like I'll be very visualizing all the taste in my head, and so. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it makes totally sense, because we are working with the top products with the coffee. So it's the same thing. Like you are enjoying mostly the natural processed wines because the taste is there also, and you don't want to drink like bad stuff just to get fucked up, basically. Exactly. But you just want to taste the wine, enjoy it, and then it's done. It's like with the coffee. It's the same like craft beer or good food. So instead of going to the McDonald's, no, there are some occasions that you need to like eat McDonald's, but
I disagree.
It's not like just the food. Yeah, sure. But it is not like just the food, but it's the thing behind it, I think. But it. when we were in Peru, in the beginning, it was really tough for me to like taste a lot of coffees because I thought that all of them are great because it was the first time that I taste the super fresh green coffee, like in origin coffee in the lab in Jaén in Peru. And after 3-4 days, I was getting into it like, no, yes, this is good, this is not, this is over fermented. And in the beginning, with the same coffees, I was like, good, super, good. So so the taste palette changed really quickly or like adapt, I think, for me. And I understood in the last days of cupping why Morten is moving the numbers or the papers, the cups in a certain way. And he was like, don't ruin my system, how I choosing the coffee. So don't take any papers or any cups or any bowls. So and then I completely understood that. So from, I don't know, like 60 samples, we agreed on 3. And I understood why. It was like, for me, like eye-opening that I can taste the differences and pick the great ones and the not great ones, or like not the one that we would buy. Because I was there to order or like to pick a coffee for our base espresso, the Estrella Divina. So we wanted like 70-60 bags. So a little pressure on me to pick great one. But we are buying this coffee for 4 years now, I think, as a base espresso, and it is still amazing coffee. I really like it. My favorite coffee as espresso. So
it's everything you want, right? It's like this sweet, the mouthfeel structure is there, and not overly complicated. And it's like a kind of like a people pleaser, but like super sweet, and
it's like a workhorse. It works.
No, it's cool. I mean, when you're cupping in origin, you need to kind of. It's also nice that you're cupping so much. You can be super critical, right? It depends on how much volume you're buying. It's just like that's what you need, and And I'm not sure if you had that on your first trip, but coffees, if you taste it in origin, you need a little bit of a different mindset, right? You need to read the coffee, what it's going to be like in maybe 1 or 2 months, because it's super fresh. It's like tastes grassy and like it's not developed. Right. Often you have, especially like in Peru, is still sort of okay if you cup in origin, but if you go to Kenya or Ethiopia, for example, Kenya is starting to be different as well. But Ethiopia, like coffee is super fresh, so you really have to like taste. Okay, where is the coffee going? How is it going to develop? So you need kind of a little. You put on a different hat, right? You
like a step back. Okay.
Yeah, and you kind of like, okay, is this does it have enough? It's all super dense and packed, so you have to kind of like visualize. Okay, does it have enough layers or structure or whatever to sort of to make it all the way? You know, to carry all of the florals of fruit or whatever, and is it going to develop enough? Or because if it's already lacking structure, for example, but it can be an amazing coffee, like a super floral, you're like, it's maybe lacking structure already, so if it's going to develop, it might fall off, and then you've kind of, so you can't be like fall in love to like with a coffee instantly. So you kind of have to know where kind of requires a little bit of a different mindset, but but I mean, it's come back to the hundreds of coffees, like in the office also, like if it's now, it's going to be Ethiopian Kenya season for us anyway. For you, it will be like in 5-6 months when the coffee has landed and whatever, it will start. For us, that's now, and then we get the first samples, the type, and the offer samples from that just come from the drying tables or whatever, and it's like it's always this buzz in the office. It's different when it's Kenya and Ethiopia. It's like, it's this season again, and you cup hundreds of coffees, and it's and it's amazing.
So how many coffees you really buy from, let's say, 100 samples that you receive? How many coffees did you buy? Or are you buying?
That really depends on the supplier, on the farmer or the exporter that we work with, and the country. So in like for example in Rwanda, we buy less coffee, and they're very attuned to our taste, just like we are very attuned to your taste, for example. So when we go to Rwanda, I mean, we don't buy 30 containers, right? In Ethiopia, we buy 30 containers. One that's is 2, sometimes 3. And so will be more specified. And we've been working with them, with Nordic our entire lifespan, but Morten, the founder, has been working with the supplier RTC there for a very long time before that. So they know our taste very well. So then when we come, they will make a pre-selection for us, and then we don't have to taste so much. Like it will still be like 50, 60 coffees per day or something, but and then out of that, the percentage of what we buy is bigger than in Ethiopia, for example, because then we'll have hundreds, if not thousands, of coffees that we cup. So I can't really say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But in Ethiopia, we now source, I think, almost 30 containers, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little under. And a container carries 320 bags of 60 kilo coffee, so it's a lot of coffee. Then you just need to cup so much. But in Ethiopia, we also work, I think, with like 13 different projects or something. And you need to, because it's to maintain quality and make sure that that you have a good supply of good coffee every year. So
the thing which comes to my mind, and it's interesting. As we started with your career and back in the days, I'm back in my head in 2017. We are starting the roastery, and we have few samples on a table. We are doing the cuppings together, and we have different sources. Of course, like the European coffee buyers, and then we had your coffees. It was different. We started feeling that this is something we want to have on our like setting. It was quite fresher. It was like interested by the origins and by the projects, because you were standing behind the projects, and always the coffee have some kind of course, transparency of the work on a farm, of the money where it comes and where it goes. It was different for me, and from day one, we was like, do we need something different than this? I don't know if you remember it, but
it was also one of the key points why we are working with you.
We had like a lot of coffees, because we were scared. We wanted to shine. We wanted to have something good when we were starting, because from day one we was not like unknown brand, because we started as the like respected baristas opening their own roastery, so the pressure was high. And then you was here, you sent from first samples, and we said like, this is it.
Cool.
Like stop buying different things. Did you like had some, I don't know, like did you ask your friends and you said like, maybe these guys should have something good from day one, or you are just this good for everyone? Because it was.
Yeah, we were in the beginning, so
it was very, very important for us. Your care about us. It was quite different. So how was it? You was writing to all the different roasters and asking like, should I send them something good or?
Maybe no. I mean, first of all, that's a really big pleasure to hear and an honor. It's simple. I just choose the coffees that I think are best, and then slowly. I think that definitely in the early days, I didn't really know.
It was just like classic what we have and what we want to sell. Now.
Yeah, I cop a lot, and so then I know what to say. But I do think about markets, or like a Czech market, or like they like maybe little different things, and but I always like. Throwing in my own things there, even though, because sometimes people in certain markets can be a little rigid on some things, or like people were very close on Indonesians, for example, for a long time, or Peru's. And I'm just always like, oh, you don't want me to bring Indonesians? Okay, that's okay. And then I put them sneaky on the cupping table blind next to Colombia. Yeah. And they were like, whoa, wow, this is super clean. Which lot is this? You know, I've had that many times where they chose this lot, like Indonesia. And then I was like, that's Indonesia. And they were like, whoa, that's cool. So I tried to do that. But that's in the early days. And then at one point, I started to get to know your profiles together with Hunza. And he came over to cup sometimes, so we cup together, and then I get to know kind of your taste better. And from that moment on, I'm just like I already mentioned to you in the car, but like if I cup with the app, I sometimes next to the cupping notes like lavender or whatever, some stuff. I will have like, oh, this is Candycane coffee, and I have to remember this, you know. That's like good. So if I cup new crop coffees, and that's also the benefit of a good relationship, that you guys you buy a lot now, and you kind of know, and you're like structured in your buying. That helps me a lot, because then I know, oh, okay, they need 10 bags of Colombia, 20 bags of this, blah blah blah, and I can, when new crops come in, I'm immediately, oh yeah, this I need to look for, and this is kind of the profile, and then I can send you, you know, 2 or 3 samples, and I just know this is the best that you will that will be the Candycane profile for this. So that's kind of so in the beginning, no, I can't take that honor that I'm already already new, but I don't know, I just sent what I like best. So.
But I still think it was like from day one we knew that it's like somebody cares about us. Somebody wants us.
I do
to have better.
Or we,
I do care.
Yeah. Or we just like the taste of the coffee.
Yeah.
So just the specific samples were that kind of taste that we want. So maybe coincidence, but no. In that 2017, in that year, the Nordic was young too, but people knew that it is something different than others.
Oh yeah,
like they are transparent, they are paying like normal money to the origin or to the farmers, and it was slightly different. And it was one of the key points that I decided.
I remember, but this was maybe a year ago, the year of Beef to Gudina. Yeah. The year when it was like, pow! It was everywhere. The 511 started. All the roasters, Czech roasters have it, and we was like, whoa, what's happening?
But they are the big lot, right? So
but it's also like Ethiopia is like, I don't know, it's also nice to source, because it's, if you do your job well, it's kind of easy, you know, to find good coffee there. It's like crazy. There's always some good coffee, and especially if you increase the handling and the picking and the sorting, and you pay a little bit extra for that, especially in the milling process, and you clean them up like the whole lot, then you should be able to create good coffees that have good shelf life and super good, clean, structured profiles pretty easily and in a lot of volume. So, and a lot of the washing stations create quite a lot of volume. It's just how the net, like the supply chains work there. Usually you have I mean, when we first started, it was still auction based, right? And then you had to do some illegal stuff, because you had to like mark like the containers where your coffee is coming from, so you knew that your coffee that you picked at the washing station or whatever that you cupped before ended up in the auction, and you saw it in the auction, and you could buy the coffee that you chose, right? That's how people used to do it until they stopped the whole the auction thing, which improved a lot, because now you have much more transparency. We have traceability to all the farmers, and that was not possible, because it was sort of anonymous, and it was cupped by local cuppers in Addis from the local government, from the coffee board of the government, and then they would be they would score it and grade it and all these things, and it would be brought to the auction. And that's why we have names like Burtukana, Kello, all these things, because they're local names for the colors that we think that they what do you call it, like they make you think of as much. Like if it's purple or whatever, it will be like a purple fruit, all these things. Blue is more blueberry, all these things. So that's what we named them before. That's based on the auction. That's no longer the case. So now we have like, it's amazing. The last 5-6 years, it's like complete traceability towards the farm. And it's super cool. But it's also another discussion. I'll be able to talk about that for hours. But like the way, like maybe it's good for your consumers to know, like the way you sometimes over romanticize the farmer or whatever, because sometimes it depends on the country how it works, right? I'm not sure if all your listeners will know, but basically a coffee is a fruit, as a berry. It will be on a tree, then it will be brought to a washing. It will be picked by the farmer, or their pickers. We brought to the washing station. In the washing station, they peel it, blah, 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 they wash it, or they leave the whole skin on, and then it's a natural. They put it on a drying bed. From there, they let it rest. It's brought to another. That's the third sort of stage. That's the mill, and then it's usually a massive. There's usually a big factory kind of things where there's a lot of machines and a lot of dust in the air, and where they remove the last of the little skin, the parchment from the coffee, and from there it rests and it gets shipped to coffee. But all of those parts, they require different attention, different investments. They don't always have that money, but also it requires a different risk, right? It's like as a roaster, like if you're here in Europe, you can't expect a coffee shop to get the same margins or the same turnovers as a roastery, right? Unless you're like a massive shop, but you cannot expect that. Why? Because you have a certain you put in a certain kind of value and money and risk. Because you took loans or you worked a very long time to finance, to build up your roastery. So of course that will have more value in the chain, and of course you can expect a greater return, but you also had a lot more risk. And the same thing, like people like to over romanticize the farmers and all these things, and in most cases they deserve a lot more money, right? That's 100% the truth. But it's also true that some of them have a few trees in the backyard. You know, they don't watch it, they don't care for it. They just, when they need, and then it's called a cash crop. They just, when they need cash in the year, they pick the berries. You know, they don't have any care for it or whatever. So then, of course, you don't create a lot of value in the supply chain, and then maybe more of the money goes into the washing station that is preparing those coffees and is washing them and making them clean if they do their job properly, or maybe at the mill, because the mill there's a lot of like often there's more high-tech machines, and even, especially the ones that we work now in Ethiopia, or they have this, you know, everything is like with color sorted, massive. I'm not sure if you've seen the mill, massive color sorters, you know, with like lasers shooting away all the bad colored. That costs a lot of money. So of course there will be more money there. So sometimes the middleman gets a bad rap, and there's like automatically more money to the farmer. But that's not always the case. It's not always supposed to be like that.
And also without a middleman, the mills or the washing station, they wouldn't be able to sell the coffee. Because they are just growing the coffee.
And they will stay for that forever without their input of that mill.
I saw it on my own eyes that people are same every country. The people are same in every country. Sometimes they are working hard and they got a lot of money from the growing, in our case, potatoes, kale, apples in Czech Republic. And some of them just happen to have a backyard full of apple trees or something like this, and they just like harvest it somehow, and the apples are not that good, like the one from the people that are working hard, and that's why they receive more money. So same thing like in the farms in a coffee environment. People are sometimes just lazy. sometimes they are working hard for some reasons, or unknown reasons sometimes. But yeah, the middlemen are there because they need to process their coffees and they should receive the same credits.
Yeah, everyone should. But I mean, the same goes for all of the parts, right? Like if any player that doesn't input value or doesn't give value to the supply chain, I mean, like importers, for example, we are also just a middleman, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you create value, you should be there. And if the moment we stop, we shouldn't be there, right? You should, if we don't add value to your supply chain, you should quit working with us, right? And you should go directly to the farmer or whatever. That's my opinion. And then we shouldn't be there just to sort of like, oh, because you respected us or you always worked with us or whatever. It's like, no, just go direct. And but often what happens is that some roasters try to go directly, which is cool, and so some really are really successful at it, which is amazing because then they just have a better relationship or whatever, and they hopefully buy from the same farmer every year, because that's also our impact, right? As an importer, we at least not every importer, but there's a lot of good ones now, and we buy from the same farmers every year, right? We try to buy from the same farmers every year, and we pretty much always succeed. And then you also take a lot of risk away from the farmers every year, and that's our impact. That's the value that the importer has. And a meal, like we just discussed, like they put in a lot of infrastructure and pick up, and so they also deserve respect and for their work and especially for their risk. But it doesn't take away that there's a lot of like bullshit there, right? There's a lot of players that take too much money, that don't put into any value, or they kind of, they take the shortcuts everywhere. And we try always to be vigilant for that. So we want partners that don't take, that don't cheat anyone in the supply chain, and that it goes where it needs to be. But it's also fun and interesting because every country works a little different. So in Brazil, for example, you often have massive farms, and they will usually have the massive farms will usually have like maybe their own washing station, maybe their own mill, and even their exporting license. Honduras is a good example. We work kind of with two different regions. One is the Caballeros family, and they're kind of well known, and they're an amazing couple. Like they have the most beautiful smile and like really good people. If you meet them, it's like they're like it's really nice. But they will have everything. So they will have their farm, their washing station, they're the exporter, and they have the mill. Right? They're kind of more like rock star producers now. They put in the work. They still put in a lot of work. So they're like they deserve that credit. They deserve to have value and money from all of those points. Because they put in all the risk. They did it all. And then we work with another project, Ronnie. That's sort of like our local middleman, actually. Really good, cool guy in Tibuca, and he is sort of our contact for many small holder farmers, and they used to maybe process the coffee at home or whatever, and now they bring it to the washing station and clean it up better, make better prepared naturals and all these things. So that's two completely different ways of doing coffee, because at one, the producer, that's why it's also very hard to say what's the farm gate price if people ask for it. The farm gate price, it's very difficult, because what is a farm gate price? If you tell your consumers like, oh, this is the farm gate price, and the Caballeros will have $6-7 a pound or whatever per on the bag, and you say that, and the other one is like 2 or 3, and then your consumer says like, yeah, but the other one they didn't get paid well. Like what's going on? That's unfair, you know. But that's not. It's a hard conversation to have, right? If you just, but people want to make everything very simple. Like, oh, this is a farm gate price, boom. But it's not. You can't do it that way because at one infrastructure, the Caballeros example that I mentioned, they have have invested in all of the chain and they do everything themselves. They make much more risk, so they get more chunk of the money. And on the other side, they only do the processing of the coffee, which is a beautiful aspect of the coffee, and it needs to be there. But it's only one aspect of the coffee, and you forget about all the infrastructure, the trucks that need to arrive, the washing station that needs to be built and maintained, and requires a lot more staff all year round. All these things, but and also another aspect is like paying proper prices and like doing a good job. Like in that last example with Ronnie in Tebuka with all the smaller projects, like there was this still is like a mass migration, right, from all the Central Americas to the US, and they're crossing the border and stuff. You probably all heard about that. And then we got like videos from all the smaller farms, like and reports from Ronnie, like, our smallholder farmers, they didn't move. You know, everyone around them, they moved and went to the US, but they got paid well, so they stayed there, you know, and their communities are prospering and whatever. So you have so much impact, and you just pay normal price for your damn coffee, man. Like that's all you have to do. And maybe, you know, drink a little less coffee, but if you do, drink good coffee. You know, so yeah.
I think, and you said like we are the middleman too, but in effect you are some kind of umbrella for us, the little bit like maybe defense, maybe some kind of partner in a crime, because we need to get great coffee, and you are there to make that first decision. Like this is good and this is bad, because when we tried sometimes like to buy maybe something direct, maybe to be there more, try it. Of course, everyone want to be direct. Everyone want to try it. We don't have this big brother next to us who said like, "Hey, buy this, not that."
Watch out because it might age soon, or
it will age. Or can you smell it? This is something like fennel. Do you know it? Maybe you should not. So this is very important. And sometimes the roasters like have the big eyes. Like we will be the big roasters now. We can buy the coffee direct, and then the big brother is not here. Nobody like helping you to get these things, or as sometimes the paperwork are like hard to manage, and you are here, and you are the person who did all the big work, and we are just like, this is our coffee. Cool. Thank you. Very good coffee. Of course, we do the rest of hard work of roasting and marketing, and
but the coffee just arrived by the truck in front our doors, so it's completely different thing than just buying the coffee directly.
But you know what I admire about you guys is like straight up, you just say that, you know, like there's also a lot of roasters that say they work directly and then we source their coffees, you know, so it's like that's nice. It's good to just be honest, and people again like to over romanticize things a little, you know, like direct relationship. No, let's honor that there's thousands of different little steps in that supply chain. None supply chains are direct. None, like there is none. If your neighbor is growing apples and you walk next door and you pick the apples with them, sure, then it's direct. But in any other case, there's always some middleman, the truck, whatever. Everyone has its part. And we should be proud of that, because we as humans, maybe to bring it a little bit bigger, is like we are capable of doing that. And that's why we have all this beautiful coffee and wine and all these things, because we have all the middlemen and all the middle people that are just doing all their parts in the supply chain without all wanting to be the rock star, you know. So
I think the middlemen still have something like dry on a tongue, and I think it's still about like coffee chain, and we need all the circles.
But we are just white people that come to the origin and ask if they sell some money, some coffee to us, and this is not how the thing works. Yeah. So you are not able to just come to the random farm. How, for example, the Czech winemakers. How would they see the people from, I don't know, America or like USA come to their vineyards and ask, I want to buy this, sell it to me. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, or so even worse, when a roaster or whatever, or a barista goes to the farm and just asks them to, can you do this, but do it a little cleaner, or do it this way, or do it my way, or here's the recipe, or put it in like a special fermentation and only buy 10, 20 kilos, you know. There's a place for that if you have like a bigger construct with them. And, you know, of course, a lot of the producers do like to do that stuff, but you kind of have to know what you're asking a producer.
And also have amount, like... you have to be in different level with the quantity of a coffee that you are able to buy, and we are not in this position yet to like buy the whole container or like buy 100 bags of one coffee, because it will take half a year to roast and to sell. So why would we go and buy something in a smaller quantity for more money? It's better to work with you. You source the coffee, you know how we like our coffee, how it tastes, and so on. So we are still not in this position to buy coffee directly.
No,
I think like not in like the nearest future. It doesn't make sense. And I heard weird stories that like big companies, big roasteries come to the farm, try to buy their crop of the year. The farmers or the producers stop to working with other importers, just completely depend on this big roastery or the buyer for 1 year, and next year they stopped buying coffee from them, and they were basically on the floor.
Yeah, sadly that happens a lot, and
that's weird.
Yeah, but also what the other thing that happens is like when you have that's also why people sometimes start going directly and then come back to us afterwards, because like we buy a lot of coffee, we bear a lot of risk. That's our value, right? We take a lot of loans for that, and loans cost money, so that's why we put in why we ask more money for it. But what happens often is that a roaster didn't maybe think it's completely true, because they might buy, even if they go buy like 80 bags or 100 bags, you can still go direct. But then what happens if the coffee is woody? Or like just whatever. There's suddenly it's milled wrong, it's phenolic or whatever, or it's stuck in Dubai.
For some reason,
happens sometimes, you know, like they put it on a different ship or container. Luckily, it doesn't happen a lot, especially if you have your own logistic department that keeps track of all the containers and whatever. It's a different thing, right?
Or it can happen something else, like riots in Ethiopia, and the coffee is loaded on the ship, but it's waiting 3 more months than usual.
Yes,
and
which
it gets rotten or something, or like. And we don't know this chain. So it's better to work with importer that know the chains and the risks and the stuff that can go bad, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, better, I don't know, but there's a place for everything, right? Some people do it really well, and it's really respectable, and that's amazing. Like if you can do it and you have like people to follow up with it, and it's like, because a lot of roasters do it themselves. Like sometimes, for example, you mentioned they will buy all their coffee, you know, by themselves, most likely.
But you have to have the balls to buy it, even though when it's not good that year.
Yeah,
or not
that's
that good.
True. Yeah, and you stand by the farmer.
So I really like how, for example, the Coffee Collective is working, because they are always buying the same coffee every year, and even though it's not that good, like last year, they still buy it, still sell it, because it is like live product, living product. So sometimes it's good, sometimes not that good.
Yeah, and then it's also up to you as roasters, like to show where you're good at, right? To roast, even if it's like when it's usually scoring an 86 or 87, and suddenly one year it's 84. It's up to you to like nail that roast, right? Do it even better. And luckily you guys can do that, so that's cool.
I like when you said like the barista came to farm and said like I want this to be much more cleaner, or I want this to be more differently fermented and so on. And it's something we cannot like go and do, but you have your exclamation playground. You are in a position when the farmer trusts you, and he knows that you will make your best, and you will like work 200% more to sell the coffee. That he will let you to ferment or make differently than they are used to know.
Yeah. So we commit to buying a lot when we ask them to do fermentation.
So it's actually your projects or the projects you are depending on, and you are the part of. Sometimes you go there directly and help them to make that. Sometimes you ask for the fermentation or for the processing, and. We are happy, and it was again our little shiny moment when we heard our name in a Tim van de Bo podcast when he was there.
Yeah, cool.
So we had little Christmas that you name us and said like, oh, they are the partners for us in this, because of course. Honza, our Honza, ahoy! You should be here. Honza
he's too
always,
afraid. He's shy.
he's really shy, and he's always like he's forced. He's forced to buy your experiments.
Yeah, because he's not a fan of anaerobics and stuff, right?
I think for like seven people in a roastery, and we are quite on the same page. We love the coffee that we roast. I always. Every time when we are on a festival and anybody asks me like, and what's the good here? And I'm always like, this is my children's. I love all the children's. I cannot say like, this is better, this is worse. It's like, it's our selection, our pride to roast this coffee. But Honza loves the clean ones, of course.
Yeah, I know.
But he loves the Indonesias. You said like, this is really good. I need you to try it.
Yeah.
Frinza Manis is. I was competing in a coffee in good spirit with Frinza Manis.
Amazing. Yeah, it will do well with like alcoholic drinks and rum, because it's already a little rum.
Yeah. So it's always like fun to watch your experiments and fun to watch it. So how this happened? Like you come into the farmer, you are writing or texting or coming directly to the farmer and asking for the things, or you are like you need to. I always think about, excuse me, but like white male tall man is coming to the farming country and saying like, hey, I know how to process this coffee. Nobody can trust you.
No, it's. I mean, that's true, and too many people maybe do it like that. But I don't know. Like, first of all, that is a valid point, right? In too many cases, the white man comes and whatever and tries to push something on the. It's the same thing when just a small, because I don't want to mention it, when like the hunger for data from roasters.
Okay.
I don't even think it's coming from consumers, but sometimes we're laughing, because we get like a question like, can you also give the name of the children of the producer and the wife and the dog, and it is literally like even a dog, right? It's not a joke. And sometimes we're like, okay, You know,
chill out, please.
And I respect that. I respect that hunger, because roasters are like, that's what I love about coffee, right? It's like this, the guys are like completely obsessed with coffee, and they want to know everything. And it was like, oh wow, it's beautiful. And I don't think there's any bad things behind it. Like it's of course it's part marketing, and you want to make money out of it, but also a lot of it is just because they really love coffee, you know. But sometimes you just forget. Maybe you should think a little bit instead of what you think. Is it actually okay to ask, like, what are the children's names or whatever? It's like, and maybe it's not necessary, you know. You can just say they have 2 children and they have a beautiful family or whatever, and that's it.
And for the product, it doesn't add that much value to know the name of the dog. If it tastes bad anyway, well, I mean, for example.
it doesn't add anything, but I mean, marketing-wise, it's you know why it works, because the consumer is like, oh, it's a nice family.
Would you buy? Would you personally buy coffee because you know how the name is?
No, of course not. No, zero. But a consumer would be like, oh, they have a nice dog, and it's like, of course they will. Some might think that, and that's the bad part. That's the bad part of marketing, I feel. But yeah, sorry, what was your question again?
How does it work? How does it work when you are doing the fermentations or the new processing methods?
Yeah, and if I come to the farm, I almost dodged it. No, no. I mean, first of all, it's an honor. It's amazing because I've always, I mean, I love everything that is flavor. Like from when I was young, you know, I started cooking and whatever, and so to emulate your own kind of profile. So I was like, wow, that's such an honor to do that in Origin. That's amazing. And I read a lot of like the books from Noma and all in the kitchen and whatever, and do that at home a little bit. And which I also love about the Czech scene, because the guys do a lot of like, what do you call it? Like pickled vegetables and stuff, and in a good way. Often, not always, but anyway. So when I go to the farm, like I don't go to a farm that I don't know. First of all, it's not like I just show up at a farm and like, hey, or we as Nordic, because it's not just me, right? Like Morten started doing these kind of things much earlier. I'm just obsessed with fermentation. I kind of I got Nordic to buy a lot more of the fermenty stuff. I love the washed equally, but they're both my like natural wash and anaerobics or whatever fermenty stuff you have. They're all my babies, you know. It's like they're all equal. So for me, it was very natural to think like, oh fuck, of course we need to buy naturals and anaerobics, because they have just a different. It's like having an apple and a pear. You're not going to say, oh, the pear is not an apple. You know, no, of course not. You value what is in front of you for what is in front of you, and not for what it's not. Just like maybe human beings. I don't know. But yeah, so if you go to a farm, it's like we do that. We do the fermentations with partners we already work with for a long time, usually. And in the case of El Salvador, the ones that you have been buying, that's an amazing farmer, Andres, and their family is like a 4th generation farmers or something. Great people, and it like they're also like looking to do more stuff, and they're just doing really well what they've always been doing, and they're just like, oh, this is what the market wants. And then you come there and you're like, hey, actually there's a new thing going on, and then you say like, there's fermentations, and they're like, what? Oh wow, that's super interesting. Sometimes they don't know about it. I mean, now it's kind of almost everyone knows about it, right? But when we first started doing it, it was that there's not really anyone doing it. Not to say we are at first, by the way. I'm just saying like it was like slowly coming up, but then they just like, whoa, oh, that sounds interesting. They're also excited, right? We're just equal. It's not a white man with a black guy or a Central American woman or whatever. It's just like whatever, 2 human beings talking to each other, and you're like, you're both obsessed with coffee, one from the other side and one on the other side. and you're just like, oh fuck, this fermentation thing. Wow, if you put cherries in a tank, it starts to taste almost vinegary or like super fruity and tropical or whatever. And there's also craftsmanship to it because you have to control like some variables, temperature, humidity, the water activity, and the pH in the water, all these things. And then they also get excited, a lot of them. Or a lot of them just really want to like, maybe it sounds bad, like please us. Or just like, oh yeah, not in a bad way. Just not like, they're our overlords, so we have to do it because otherwise they don't want to work with us. No, it's more like, it's just like, oh cool, they really like this stuff. Oh yeah, let's try it. Let's go for it, you know. And they're super excited about it. And in some cases, so the Andres for them was one of those people that were just like, whoa, that's super cool. Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's try it. And then I was able to first. I started doing that specific fermentation in another farm in El Salvador in Los Pirineos. And that was beautiful. You know, they had like with Gilberto. So, sadly, he has passed away, but. Luckily, his children have started doing the farm now, so everything is good now. But they have a beautiful house and it's surrounded by volcanoes, and I was able to do my fermentations there and just like daily get cherries and write up a profile and things and do different test batches and all these things. But I mean, it was not just that, right? We also bought. Two containers of their coffee every year, and then the test batch was just like 2 to 10 kilos to try, see if it works out, and if it works out, we scale it. That's another thing. We as Nordic, we when we start a experiment, we never do it if it cannot be scaled. Yeah. So if it's like, this really interesting thing in like one tiny basin, and it's like you can produce like 10 kilos a year or per season, or even if you just have 5 bags, it's too little. It needs to scale because it needs to be able to. You have to be able to create like a system and a protocol and like and secondly, we always look. Is it too risky or not? And we will buy the coffee even if it goes down, and we look at what is already available at the farm usually or at the washing station. Like if maybe in a lot of cases, for example, you can do a lot of fancy stuff, right? Control the pH and whatever. But sometimes it's just a matter of like, okay, everything is in the sun right now. Let's put it in the storage and put just like create a certain space within the storage they already had because they were not using it, for example. And then you put the barrels there, or at a certain period in the crop, that space under shade is not being used. So let's put the barrels there, and we can make use of that. And then often you can create almost, if not completely, the same results in a super rudimentary setup. Like you have literally like a water barrel, and then you drill a hole in the top, and you put like a little water lock, like one of those locks that you use for beer brewing, and that pushes out the oxygen because at one point the cherries will start to produce CO2 from all the lactic acid bacteria that are on top of the skin, that are kind of like eating the sugars and pooping out the CO2. And the CO2 basically pushes out all the oxygen and creates, at some time, at a certain point, it will create an anaerobic environment. That is, there's no oxygen left. It will take a while, but so usually it's like we call it semi-anaerobic or extended fermentation because it's not a true anaerobic. But the thing is, it doesn't matter because in a lot of times, if you do it well, you will create the same profiles. You can create really sort of like clean. You can't call it clean, but I call it clean anaerobics, right? Like you have structure, you have the mouthfeel and all these things. All the layers are there. If you roast it well, you have like super good sugar developments and all these things, and you have all these nuances in it, and you can create the same without a fancy setup with like pH meters or things, because often maybe you have the knowledge and then you leave, and then first of all, what are you asking someone to do? They have to put someone like full time on your project to do that stuff. You have to pay them a lot, you know, and maybe you guys or other. We also have to think about the price in the end. Maybe people don't want to pay that much, not because maybe you don't think the project is amazing, but also your consumers want to have to pay more for that coffee, right? So we think about that, and things have to be scalable, and it's always a partnership. So that's one way, and then the other way is like Frinza, the Indonesians that you have. That's completely different because the owners there, Fikri, and Wildan is the father, and Fikri is the son. Wildan, first of all, he used to be a potato farmer in Indonesia. Yeah, so he only had potatoes, maybe some other vegetables a little bit. And but then he went to the Netherlands and did like an agricultural agronomy university degree in Wageningen, which is like a very high up university when it comes to agriculture. And then there he studied just agriculture and all these things. So he, as you can see, as you can hear, he already has this massive interest in like, yes, he's a farmer, but he wants to know everything about farming, you know, and luckily there's more farms like that. But yeah, in coffee growing regions, it's like quite unique, right? It's like there's more and more coming now, and usually the specialty coffee roasters are like trying to pull them out in a good way. But that's only like a tiny few in all the roasters or all the coffee producers. But he, and especially his son is like now sort of like a fermentation geek, right? Yeah, I love that guy. He's so nice. Like Indonesian people in general, like when you talk to them, like on Skype or whatever, they're always smiling, and like you know, they show their family like, oh yeah, oh look, my niece or my son or whatever just had a birthday or just finished studying, and you build these beautiful relationships with all these people, and it's just on the other side of the world, and because you just buy their coffee and you're like respectful. Anyway, Fikri is amazing, and he just came. I have never been to Indonesia. I was supposed to, and then COVID happened, and it closed down for like 2 years. And I hope to make a trip happen this year to finally, for the first time, see them. But for him, I was talking to him from abroad a lot, like it's just like sharing profiles and like a new developments on yeasts or whatever. So he's now inoculating a lot of like his coffees with the yeasts, and yeah. Like he does a bunch of things. Like he has this tempeh spores. That's on some of the coffee he uses a tempeh spore, so they grow on and that's a different stage. So the yeast you usually put in like the barrel or in the fermentation tanks, the basins or whatever. You know where the coffee's sometimes put to take off all the pulp and all these things. You put the yeast there, and the inoculation of like tempeh spores or those kind of things you do on the drying tables, so because you want a little bit less water. But anyways, maybe a little too detailed, but it just shows that he's intrinsically motivated, right? That's a different approach. He's often coming to me with like things like, oh, look at what I found, like a super cool, you know, like an article or whatever. And he came to Oslo and we discussed I just told you about like when the Ethiopian Kenya season is, which is for us now. There's always this like vibe in the office, but for me it's the same with Indonesians. You know, it's not with everyone in the office. Not that, like it's kind of like you guys. You know, like not everyone loves those stuff, but I love that stuff. Like the Indonesians, when that comes, like all this funky things, it's just like wow, it's on another level. Like their coffees, their fermentations are just like. Like it's crazy, and it's yeah, and it's so. I don't know. I've like from the day one, I've always seen the potential, because if you like, I just knew. Maybe it's because of the background as a roaster, but if you roast it well, you have so many nuances. And there's one roaster in Oslo that had shown me the first time how to, like, because it was like a 72 hours, or I think even like a 100-hour anaerobic from Frinza. And when it arrives, especially when it's on offer or a PSS still, it's so funky. And you still have to, like what I mentioned about tasting really fresh coffees in Ethiopia, for example, you have to have a little bit like you have to kind of delve into the structure, how is it going to develop. And for me, it just made sense. Like, it's going to rest and it's going to open up and it's going to be, and then it's like so dense and so packed with layers that it's too intense for a lot of people, right? But if you develop that well, it kind of opens it up, right? And then that I've seen the same with Frinza. And one roaster that does it really well is Supreme in Oslo. Supreme Roast Works.
Amazing.
Wow. And they're like the way they roast that Frinza, and also Freitas now. Like Freitas has been buying those for a couple of years, and you guys, and it's just like, like the layers in those coffees is amazing. But I mean, it's not for a lot of people. It's not you're not gonna maybe not start your morning with it, or you're not gonna just keep drinking it all day. It's more like one cup, and you're like, whew, that was that was enough. Maybe
it's really tricky to roast this coffee.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
No. It is just different approach. It gets like roasty in a taste very soon.
Yeah.
So.
Bit similar to naturals, maybe, that the sugar's on the outside.
It is really similar, and also a little different. It is not. It behaves like a coffee that has less moisture content, even though it's not. So it gets like the roasting ends with a high temperature, but the development is quite shorter than we are getting used to. So normally but because we are using this coffee for filtered coffee, so normally our development is like 16-17%, and with a Frinza or this kind of anaerobic natural processed coffees are like 14, 13 and a half. So yeah, it's weird.
Different.
It's weird, but the end temperature of the roast is almost the same, but just different like ratio, the development time. But yeah, when you nailed it, when you hit the right spot with the roast, the coffee is amazing.
Yeah.
And otherwise, sometimes I have like the conversation with client that he's asking for the roasting, like the coffee have oils on it, because it's a little bit sweating, but it's not sweating. It's a sugars on the top, and it's starting to caramelize like sooner. So I don't know if you had this conversation or asking like, hey Jamie, is the coffee oily? Is the coffee bad from it? Or,
I mean, it was funny because the first time we did like an aerobic, I think it was like a ceremonial Nobaya lot in Ethiopia or something. We did these. Basically, we put the whole cherries in like a closed-off grain pro bag, and then left it in the sun, and then rotated it every 6 hours, depending on the weather, of course. But there because we've also seen that if you clean up an anaerobic too much in the milling, in the last stage of the coffee processing, it loses some of its uniqueness. Okay. So you kind of want to leave in more of the sort of like, wash coffee, you would call it like crappy sorting, And if you do that too much in an aerobic, it sometimes feels hollow. So especially in Ethiopia, like the coffees already look kind of weird, right? Like it's like all different sizes or whatever, which makes Ethiopia, because that's why it's so beautiful, because it's all the different varieties and the densities and all, which is also harder to roast. But with the end, those first anaerobics, we had the same, right? Because the greens kind of look. We had a lot of consumers when the anaerobics first started. We first started doing them, and it was Ethiopia. And then people looked at the greens, because the green also, if it's anaerobic, it looks kind of all sorts of colors, right? It looks super weird, like brownish, reddish, different kinds of green, and not really green anymore. So then we got a lot of comments like, "Whoa, this sorting looks like it's commercial coffee, right? Are you sure you sent the right coffee?" Like, yeah, just roast it, and see if you. So people had to get used to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, it was like 2 years ago when we started. It was like sometimes somebody is asking like, but this coffee doesn't look like a specialty coffee. It's like lot of changes, and we are always like asking, and how about the taste? And they are like, whoa, yeah, I know, but 20 years we are teaching the people like
that is how it looks.
Take a look about the
sizes
or color or something like that, and we are coming now back in the days, and the coffee like really changing the shape when it's fermented. So it's interesting.
Especially this basically happening all the time when we have pile up from Ethiopia, and people are asking, is this color sorter that you have, is it broken? Because the coffee looks like it got like into the wrong bin after the sorting, and we were like, no, this is already sorted after the roasting. I mean, how does it taste? It's amazing. But why are you looking? How does it look? If it tastes amazing, we are not like trying to steal from you or like sell you the cheap coffee, just like weirdly fermented or somehow. This is how it is. So how does it taste? Good. So you're welcome.
Yeah, no, it's good, but this is tricky, right? Maybe to draw it bigger again, like this. It's very, I don't know, very human, right? We want structure, you want like efficiency, and that's why we create rules, which often help to make something better. But sometimes a lot, especially in today's world, we get lost in those rules, right? We forget, like, why do we put the rules? Why do we have laws, for example? Do we have laws because we want to follow the laws? No, we want laws because they help make life a little bit better for everyone, right? Yeah. That's the point. And that's the same with this. Like, why do you do the sorting to make it taste better? Yeah, you don't do the sorting because you want to do the sorting and it looks good. No, you want to make it a better product in the end. And then we kind of forget we lost our way. You know what I mean? Like
it's maybe same with the chefs. You know, when you are cook, you follow the rules of the recipe because you need to make the food taste good. But if you know all the rules and you make this process like again, then you can like evaluate the create new directions to be the chef to find the tasting. So it's
but you have to have the experience to do it. Yeah. So it's like
and to know when it's tasting good to evaluate and create different processes.
If everyone just keeps following the rules, you never teach yourself how to do that. Definitely. So that's also a problem, right? Yeah. You stop thinking for yourself. Like if you're in front of a red light and the red light is broken, you can wait a very long time, but maybe you should just look for yourself and see if it's safe to cross, right? The same goes for all these kind of things, for making food or coffee or
So we are in a I think era, in a part of evolution or revolution, the time when we fight, we argue with each other. Is it soaked? Or is it well fermented? Is it well anaerobic? And we are in a part when we have like the samples or the coffee from another roasters, because we know the process. We are into it together, and you are there and saying us like this is that kind of fermentation, or this is it. So this is something I'm a little bit afraid of to ask, because I will start to look very like a greenhorn to now. But how the fuck know in this part of coffee revolution when the coffee is soaked, or when the farmers. Different farmers, the biologists of the coffee, made this tasting like really like wine, grapes. When you taste the passion fruit, but it's still the part of fermentation and not the soaking together with the fruit. Is there any cue, any clue, any key, anything I can like be I don't know, be right if I say like this is soaked and this is
infused.
Like good.
Infused. You mean
infused.
When people with soak you mean infused?
No, infused.
Yeah. So it can like the soak coffee is always because you are soaking in juices, you are soaking together, you are making that fermentation, but the infusion of the fruits inside or the chemics because we are in a type of like beautiful life.
So you mean if there is any key how to figure it out if it's naturally processed
organically
or just somehow tweaked with anything else?
I mean, this is gonna get more difficult by the day, right? Every year those and with chemically, I guess you mean more like, so you mean for you there's two categories. You have the ones where they add cinnamon or whatever, or like
the mango is floating
milk or whatever stuff to it.
So you open the bag,
and the other one is like naturally just from the fruit of the coffee. That's what you mean, right? And how can you see the difference?
Yeah, because sometimes you open the bag and you doesn't smell coffee. I smell just fruit.
Grapes.
Maybe not the fruit, but I smell the gums. The very
gum,
like fruity gum.
Yeah, like artificial.
And when I do the pour, like the coffee, I cannot smell any cocoa, any type of roasting or something like that. I just smell so much like forced fruit. Yeah. And then I'm saying like this must be like infused or chemically changed.
So for me, the intensity doesn't say much because we that's like how strong it smells. For example, it doesn't tell me that it's fake because it's like I mean, first of all, the whole conversation about fake is like it's a different topic, right? I don't think anything is fake, but it is maybe. I'm not a fan of like infusing stuff, but. And secondly, so the intensity doesn't really say anything to me because I think a 100-hour anaerobic can taste, or even like if a 20-hour, if it's like really warm outside or whatever, it will have more fermentation, and it'll start to create also those super intense flavors, right? So that doesn't really say anything. And I've had like anaerobics that taste like smell like cinnamon or like crazy stuff, and that hadn't anything added to it. But for me, when what I almost always catch it is because it maybe it's gonna sound philosophical again, but like a coffee is like a symphony of music, right? So if you have like a beautiful classical piece and then suddenly there's a trumpet going through it, you kind of like, oh, and the trumpet wasn't supposed to be there. That's kind of how I feel like about this chemically added or like infused coffees when you add something foreign to it. It often triggers this sort of like when you go into the toilet and someone has put this toilet refreshener before you, but the cheap one, you know. Ones come out of a spray that has like lavender smell or something. You like, there's no doubt about it. You smell like, okay, it's chemical, right? It's like, that's the way I have it in my mind when I cup coffees. It's somehow out of balance. It's kind of like you taste the coffee, the nuance, and then suddenly there's something on top. Or in between, whatever, and it's mostly you taste it. But I do have to say, like some of them get usually because maybe they add less and they let it soak better or longer or whatever with less ingredients. I would say it works a lot better. They're getting better, and it's harder to get. But I mean, most of the times I taste immediately. You're like, okay, this doesn't belong. I'm not saying that it always tastes bad. Sometimes it's like, oh, this was kind of cool. But usually it's when they know their coffee. And it's not like, oh, we have this super fruity coffee and we're going to add lavender to it. Or orange or whatever. And you're like, okay, this clearly wasn't part of the coffee. But for me, it's because how I, again, to answer the question, is like, you taste that some has been developed with each other. You know, it's all these layers that are belonging to it. It's a very integrated profile. And then you have the infused stuff, and then there's an integrated profile. And one note that pops out, and that usually is like, okay, and then I smell it immediately or taste it immediately.
I remember,
but there's no trick. You can't.
I remember Saudariaja, the Salvador one. When we had that anaerobic fermented, we had the passion fruit. We had it there, but still there was the kombucha because it was fermented, and still I had a cocoa to taste. The reason of roasting, the reason of the coffee cherry was there, and there I was like, of course, this is something which is together and being part. And I know it was like fermented because of the little bit alcoholic taste on the end. And sometimes I have the cup, or I just enter the room and I see like what's happening here. Maybe some, I don't know, maybe somebody have like fruity perfume or something like that, and then you came to the grinder and somebody starts grinding and you have like for example mangoes, pineapples, peaches, papaya, grapes, sometimes like two, and it's really like when you like start to that toilet perfume and not to grind the coffee, and I'm asking myself like, is it this, and can it be natural? Can it maybe in some, as you said, maybe in some level when it's part of the whole song and it's not like ringing the bell. I don't know. I don't know if it still can be say like and you said like it's starting to be part, and how to set it's a chemical, how to set it doesn't belong, or it's actually natural if you bring the fruits inside and make the co-fermentation.
But would you? I mean, in general, whether it is a good thing to infuse coffees and stuff or do other stuff to it, is a good conversation, right? But I mean, I think with all things, you just have to let it go. I mean, some people are just going to do it and love it, and it will have its place in the market. Just like anaerobics, like most people didn't like anaerobics. Like even the people that love anaerobics right now used to hate anaerobics, right? And natural, same thing. Like natural, same thing. Until like people started knowing how to use it. And I think the same with infusing. Like it was the same with beer, right? When you had all those microbrews coming up, and they put shitloads of hops and like mango and all these things, and they kind of, they are still there, but they got better, they got more integrated, and you know they're
all like the mango sours.
Exactly, all the mango sours. But they got better, and you know, it's okay. It has its place, and it's not that many anymore, right? It has a few if you go to the beer shop, to a specialty beer shop or something. But most of it is just like still the regular beers, I would say.
I'm a little bit scared when you come to the coffee shop, and on the label of the coffee is like washed Ethiopia, and you are drinking it, and you are saying like, hell no, it's not washed anyhow, it can be just washed. And you are there, of course, if the informations went through all the way, if the roaster have the knowledge to recognize it, but when you are drinking something which tastes like hubba bubba, like very like gum, and you are thinking like, this is not washed. This cannot be washed. And of course, we are back that there's so much chains, but that it can be like misunderstood. In a coffee, in a buying,
or just an error. Can also be an error, right? Maybe they bought the wrong coffee.
I think at least the infusions has their own place in the coffee business, I think. But you should write on the label that was infused
100%,
and not like lie that there is no infusion or any tweaking of the processing method. In this case, I hate it. But if it's written on it, it was infused, blah 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 blah, I'm totally fine.
Fine, it's up to you to buy it or not, whatever.
So it is like like with the beer that you said, if you are tasting the mango sour, mango stout or something, and there is no written on it that there is a mango puree inside, and you are trying to understand why there is a mango in the normal beer, it would be weird. Yeah. So you have to write on the label that it's infused.
Yeah, I think,
or to be true, and don't lie.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, I was thinking the same. Like it immediately came to mind when you were saying that. Like we've had samples from producers. Yeah, that clearly had something added to it, but then they're being like secretive or whatever. Even like some of the. You know, we often get those samples from producers that we don't work with, and then some rock star producers or whatever will send us some, and then they say they didn't add anything, or they didn't want to say what is in it, and we're like, nah,
the secret.
Done. We don't do that. You know, we don't want to do that. It's like just say what you want. Just say what you want to add in it. There's nothing against it. I don't have anything against it. It's like it's fine. I think there's more magic in But maybe it's just, you know, me. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. I'm only 33, luckily. But maybe I'm already getting old. But for me, there's a magic in letting everything that a cherry has do its own thing, right? And that's still natural anaerobics to me, because it still creates from the same fruit. But then, you know, like Frinza, for example, adds yeasts. What do you do with that? Is that okay? You know, it's like there's already a bunch of yeast on the cherry. Like there's yeast here floating around. It's on your skin right now. That will create fermentations. If you have fruit here, it will start to decompose, right? Start to ferment. Is that like when at what point is it wrong? And for me, but maybe, you know, like all people love it, and if people love it, it's great. Maybe like it would like adding like something foreign, like actually adding like lavender or like cinnamon or whatever to it. It's just it kind of. I wouldn't be interested in it, because for me it's like less of the craftsmanship, right? You kind of just like, and anyway, I have not tasted one that I was like, whoa, this is like, it is more valuable than a super good coffee or whatever. But then again, like I say that and I already think like the beautiful coffee gifts that Doc from Amsterdam sometimes sends, and I'm like, fuck, these coffees are amazing, you know? And they sometimes have some stuff that something is added to it. I wouldn't drink it every day, but it's like, whoa, it's that,
some of them are
that was probably the first times where I thought like, oh, this is actually, it has something, you know, this is something interesting. Yeah. But for me, as if I would, you know, be in the origin fermenting stuff, I wouldn't necessarily think about that, because I don't know, it just feels like too easy, maybe. And it's not what I look for.
Okay. And how do you see barrel aged coffee, for example?
I don't know. I tried that when I was a roaster, like 12 years ago. I put something in a barrel that used to have rum in it or something, or. I don't know. I've never tasted a good one. That's my opinion. Yeah. I mean, when I tasted the one, it's usually too intense,
too much,
way too much, and it goes pretty fast, because I did it myself. And you don't have to put it in a day. You can put it in 6 hours, and it already takes that flavor a lot. Okay. So it's crazy. But the barrel age, I don't know. I think it's. Again, if people love it, if someone can make a really good barrel aged coffee and they show it to me, I'm like, oh, cool, nice. Yeah, it's not going to be something that I am going to create or that I would like to have. But but I mean, most of it is just done badly. Or what I can see, if this would become more popular, I haven't seen it really lift off, because it's been around for a while, right?
It's been,
nobody is really doing it too much. And
just during the Christmas time.
Oh yeah, okay. But I haven't really seen.
Cognac.
But again, this is a kind of a funny purpose, no? For something.
Yeah,
like
it is.
So why not? That's my opinion with all of this stuff. Like, why not? If you can just do it, just try, see if someone likes it, and if there's a market for it. Just apparently someone appreciates that work that you put in, right? So as long as you're honest about it. So another thing, like for example, the infusion, some producers won't say it. That's kind of like, then I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, you know. But and the same with barrel aged. Maybe you just had a really really bad coffee or like aged coffee, and you buy like a really cheap coffee, and it's aged, and then you put it barrel aged, and you say, oh, this is a special barrel aged coffee, and it's like, yeah, but it was already super fucking woody. It was just a really shitty coffee, and you paid nothing for it.
Worst tea in the market.
Yeah,
that's how the coffee tastes when it's. Somebody can watch this and ask like, so how can I see the like woodiness inside? So imagine worst tea at the market and pour it a little bit into your coffee, and then there's rum. For this example, barrel. So it's like.
I haven't ever really had one that was like a wine barrel. Actually, would be interesting. I don't know. Could add something in, maybe in like a natural coffee or something. Or, I don't know. But then again, it's like maybe you can do it much better if you just create beautiful natural. Right? So why bother?
Actually, yeah, there is a. For 10 years, everyone is asking and looking under the pillow and under the bed and then everywhere. So it is the fourth wave of coffee starting, and everyone was saying like, the fourth wave is when the roaster buying the farm. The fourth way is infusion. The fourth way is capsules. The fourth way is there and there. I think all the things when we are coming more and more closer to the customer and trying to like connect all the chain are the fourth ways. So we are in that age. But so I'm not asking about the wave. I'm asking you about the future at all. Like what do you see and what do you think, and where do you see the coffee in the next 5 years? Will we like doing more and more like is there the scissors more open or more closed? Like one way will be more and more clean and more like quality, maybe more expensive coffee for the people, and the other way will be more infusions, maybe infusion, but the cheaper coffee, because it will like evaluate the quality, so you can or what do you think? What do you think about our future?
It's a big question, but no. I mean, I think sometimes people think like, the hype is gonna go away with all of these things. That's very like on that specific point. I think it all will have its place. When anaerobics first started exploding, we started buying a lot Nordic as well, and I was always like, okay. I'm the funky lover, right? And I was like, okay, maybe calm down, right? So we need to grow this organically, because it's just gonna explode. Everyone's gonna buy it, and then people are gonna be fed up with it within 2 years, and they were, and now it's like it will have its place, just like naturals. You only had wash coffees for a long. First you had natural coffees, but very badly produced. Then you had washed, and it was much better. And then nobody wanted naturals anymore. Then you had washed, and then you had slowly got like naturals that were produced very well, and you got like super clean Ethiopians. Everyone was like, "Whoa, that's amazing!" And the same thing is going to happen for anaerobics. It will have its place, and people will know how to produce it and really process like properly structured, clean anaerobics. And the same thing will be for flavored coffees. I think you will see more of that, and then it will fade down a little bit. And that's the future of fermentation. Anyway, it's not. I think it's pretty simple. It will just and it will get more cross contamination from the wine industry and the beer industry, and adding yeasts and different kind of. You're able to. Technology will become more cheaper, more available. Knowledge is already crossing the internet very fast, so producers can easily just open up a website, and like there's a lot of really good people in the coffee industry that are not necessarily doing the buying, the roasting, the brewing or the growing, but like more on the technology side and like making blogs or whatever, huge websites like Sprudge or whatever, just opening up the whole world for really good coffee data, and also for farmers, right? So they will just get much better at it on the fermentation side. But then, I mean, the other topic is like climate change, for example. So
I just wanted to ask how it's changing.
Yeah. So I mean, we see that the caballeros, for example, are struggling to create the same quality every year. In general, the coffee is going up a little bit, up the mountains, higher up. Higher altitudes, and there's less ground. Of course, you know, a mountain goes only one way, so there's less and less space to grow that. However, I'm a little bit controversial with my opinion here, and that is that, you know, like I'm more of a supply and demand believe in like a more in a capitalistic world actually, which we actually don't have, but that's a very, very big topic. Because the money supply is in control of the government, and it disrupts a lot of the supply chains. But so does like the ice market. That's like the New York Coffee Exchange or whatever. That is just like what do you call it? Like they bet on where the market is going, right? And it has nothing to do with the production of coffee or a demand or those kind of things. I believe that we should have much more freedom there, and also to like people always want like, oh, you have to like give more money to the producer, and even though they're not there, even if they're not what do you call it, profitable or whatever, like, oh, just incentivize them, and they will be incentivized by the government. But I believe, I mean, this is not the opinion of Nordic, right? But this is my opinion. It's like, I believe there will be much better place if there was less of meddling of the government and just let the people do what the people want to do, right? Then there would be maybe much less producers, and then everyone's always like, oh no, less producers, oh no, we already have too little coffee and the demand is growing. Yeah, let it go, let it do its natural thing. And what you will see is that now it's always a buyer's market. If an importer goes to the producing country, they can go there, and then they can put down a price, and they will say, maybe the producer, if they have the balls, they will say they won't, because they know the harsh reality. But let's say they say, oh, I want this, I have my shit in order, I know what I need for my coffee to produce, to have like a quality of life for my children and whatever, and this is the cost of the coffee, so then plus a little bit of margin profit, this is what I want for price. Then the importer can just say, if they are not like there with good intention, they can just say, they can just say, okay, no worries, your neighbor will sell it to me, so that's fine, you know. So I think maybe it's idealistic, but I think with less, if there are less producers, it wouldn't be the worst place in the world. Like, people would just have to pay the real price of coffee. But the problem is the entire market is disrupted because of all the wrong incentives, right? There's a bunch of like huge programs that is like keeping unsustainable coffee producing, and this is in all agriculture, right? In a lot of things, just up and running instead of just letting it do its thing, right? It's like you need to get your shit in order and be more efficient as a farmer, to produce better and better quality, and not if it's things come for free, for example, and now you have the weird situation where like so many farmers, the majority of farmers are not profitable, but they keep doing it because it's just what they have in their backyard, and they can't get out of this sort of like I almost call it like a slavery contract, right? Because they can't ask what they need, and they have to keep providing, and it's just very wrong signals that the market is getting right now. So I would say if in the future we would let that go, or at least there would be more awareness of that, and maybe there will be less farmers, and of course, the demand will grow and they can ask more for their coffee. And then at one point, you will see, of course, a point where there are too little farmers. And then there's an actual sustainable, profitable plan or like an incentive for a farmer to start farming, because they're like, oh, from now I can choose my destiny. I can choose I want to plant this because I see in the market they get a certain price for it per plant. Yeah. Whereas now it's maybe too much, and coffee is too cheap because there's too much of it, right? Yeah. And I mean, a lot of your listeners will say cheap, no, of course, the coffee they were buying from you is not, of course, but the majority of the commercial coffees and stuff is. So, yeah, I don't know. But in general, I'm super excited about the coffee industry because like there's so many good people. I want to stop on a bright note, right? Because it's like so many good people there. Everyone's so enthusiastic about their work, and so I believe that I mean humanity in general is pretty damn cool and always like innovative, and we'll work our way out of it. So.
Our community and the industry is still young. It's about like 40, 50 years. So, and it's a huge run and speed up in the past years. We are the part of it, and we are still here. The careers are still young. So it's interesting to be the part, and possibly. Let's meet in a less time amount than 6 years because it's it's from day one when we wanted to have this conversation, and of course we have lots of conversations, but to share it with our customers and listeners, it's very wow. It was very good podcast, Zdenek.
Yeah, excuse our bad English, but
thank you for being such a good host.
Jamie, thank you. Again, thank you very much to be the guest. Thank you very much for your oh my god knowledge and of course the topics that you brought, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
My pleasure. I can keep going on for like hours, so it's okay.
So
thank you for having me.
So let's say for the next date. Thank you, Jimmy.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks,
bye.